Hello, my name is Jose Martinez and I'm the General Manager here at Valley County Water District. The presentation I have here is planning for the future. This was certainly something that I envisioned doing at a series of community workshops, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this was the next best option to go over plans that we have here at the district. The first slide that we have here is a timeline starting back in 1999 when the district first conducted a master plan. That master plan looked at several key functions of our district: our infrastructure, predominantly our reservoirs, our pumping stations, as well as our need for a new district headquarters. In 2012, the district conducted a long-term financial plan. We identified several big projects, and we had to identify how we were going to have the funding to pay for those projects. In 2017, we started looking at the options for having a centralized district headquarters rather than having a separate, which we do now, an operations and administrative headquarters. We looked at the possibility of having one centralized location for both. In 2018, the district secured bond money to pay for a majority of these capital projects which had been identified not only in the original master plan, but also several of the updates. And that takes us to the present time of 2020. One of the key components of the master plan was the identification of storage deficiencies. As noted in 2013, and as we look at it again in 2020, we have identified a shortage of about 6 million gallons of reservoir capacity. So now that we identified that we need storage capacity, we also have to identify where are we going to put this storage capacity. Now, storage deficiencies is really key when you start looking at the potential of liability issues. And as we see here, the capacity is needed to meet the demands of fire flow and also peak community demand. So as during the summer when everybody is irrigating and using water throughout the day, we have to make sure that we have enough water throughout our system to provide water not only for our customer needs, but also in the event of a fire. The next items that we looked at was, where are we going to put these reservoirs? The district looked at several options. One was the purchase of land just north of our current facility where we have several reservoirs. The other one was purchasing some land next to our existing operations headquarters. The slide that we have here presented both those two options, purchasing the land just north of Arrow or purchasing additional land to the east of our current operation headquarters. Looking at option 1 and option 2, unfortunately, when we evaluated those didn't necessarily pencil out. So we started looking for option number 3. Option number 3 was to build 2 reservoirs over where our existing operation headquarters are, and then start looking for another piece of land where we could build our new operations headquarters. So we started looking at option 3. The next component that we looked at in the master plan was pumping capabilities and hydraulic conditions. With the added capacity, we also had to start looking at newer, larger, and more efficient water pumps to move this water around. The need for stable water pressure to meet fire flows and to improve overall operational efficiencies was certainly key when we started looking at upgrades to our booster pump station. With the addition of those several million gallons, these newer pumps would be able to pull water directly from the reservoirs and put them into our system. In addition, we needed to evaluate emergency generation. As we've seen recently with wildfires, there has been disruptions to power flow to our facilities. So it was crucial for us to have backup power at our key booster pump stations throughout our service area. In the event that we would lose outside power from Edison, that we had the capability to continue to provide water and have that backup power supply. The next component that we looked at was our operations office and warehouse. As we continue to pursue option 3, we were going to build those reservoirs on top of our existing operation headquarters. That turned out to be the best solution. So we actually started looking at purchasing a property where we can build our new operations headquarters. It just so happened to be that in 2014, we purchased 2 plots of land that happened to be right across the street from our Lantee treatment facility. So we purchased that land and started looking at the construction and design of an operation headquarters. As we got closer to looking at the design of a new operations headquarters, there were some thoughts of, why don't we just bring our two buildings together? Currently, right now, we have our administrative headquarters is in a different location than where our operations headquarters. So in 2016, we conducted a workshop to really start evaluating the possibility of bringing our two locations to one centralized location. One of the first things we did is we evaluated that property off Atlantic as could we actually fit both offices and staffing at that one centralized location. After conducting an assessment, it was identified that yes, there was plenty of space to move our administrative and operations headquarters at one location. With that, the board selected an architect in 2019 to start design of that possibility. The next process that had to be identified was, how are we going to pay for these projects? We had identified the need for additional capacity, for booster pumps, for a centralized headquarters, and also additional improvements to our infrastructure and piping. So we had identified several big projects, and we had to start looking at how are we going to pay for that? What is the most economical way for us to proceed with these projects that had been identified in these master plans and also have the funding? The slide that we have here talks about the proposed projects, from water main replacements to the construction of additional reservoirs, booster pump stations, headquarters, and other projects that were identified that needed to be addressed. The next item that we had to look at is funding sources. We had certainly identified several key projects in the master plan, from booster pump stations to mainline replacements to a centralized headquarters, and all these projects started to add up. So how are we going to pay for them? This was certainly something that was discussed at several board meetings. There was the possibility of issuing a bond, a pay-as-you-go philosophy, looking at our rates. So we sat down in 2017, we worked with Raftellus Financial Consultants, and we conducted a rate study. That rate study determined that rate adjustments had to occur in order for us to collect the true cost of service to our customers. We also looked at the need for these capital improvements that were identified in the master plan. After several discussions, it was board's direction to move forward with the bond process. So in 2018, the district was actually successful in issuing a $25 million bond to pay for a majority of these capital projects. Now that we had the funding secure, we started moving forward with the planning and implementation of these projects. The first one being the new booster pump station. We've been working on this project for the last 2 years and is near complete. This will certainly be an improvement to our overall ability to move water throughout our service area. We also started the design of our new district headquarters. Having a centralized facility is certainly going to be a major change to the way we're currently having these two separate locations. So we're certainly very excited to have this project, and we expect to begin construction in early 2021. We've also been replacing a lot of pipeline throughout our service area. Currently, we're working on 5 projects, and with over 100 miles of pipelines throughout our service area, is certainly something that we need to stay on top of. We've also installed several emergency backup generators at key facilities. In the event of an emergency, these are certainly something that are going to be very useful if we lose outside power. Another project we're really excited about is the replacement of all of our residential meters with new automated meter system that can provide real-time data back to our customer service, and also really help us to inform our customers if they have a leak. So a great conservation measure in which we can help our customers to reduce their overall water use and water bills. The final project I wanted to talk a little bit more about is our new district headquarters. As mentioned, this was something that has been discussed from the very beginning as originally just an operation headquarters, but through additional workshops with the board had transitioned into one centralized headquarters. Design for this began in 2019, and we intend to begin construction in 2021. As we see in this schedule, we are on track. We have gone through the process as far as design, submitting these plans to the city for review and their approval, and we are now at the phase where the project has been bid out. We have received bids, and we are taking a proposed contractor to the board for selection. Certainly, after many years of discussing the headquarters project, we're very excited to be at this point. We anticipate that construction will take nearly a year, and we certainly hope that the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic is better at that time, where we can have a community event to celebrate the many years in planning, from previous board of directors to previous general managers, and everything that we've done to accomplish not only this project, but all the projects that were identified in the master plan. As stated before, this was certainly something that I wanted to do with the community, to have some interactions. If you have any questions or comments about this presentation, I surely invite you to call, email us here at the district, and we'd love to further discuss these projects. With that, I thank you for your time.